Hey, sports fans! Coach Nick here, and welcome to another edition of our live B-Ball Breakdown show coming at you on a Wednesday morning. As always, I'm joined by Andrew Convo Salop, and we are here to discuss the NBA. Whatever you want to talk about, we have an agenda as well, but we're going to talk about a lot of different things today in our show. Thank you for being here. It's been a few weeks now, Combo. Great to see you. Great to see you back. The beard is looking great.
I appreciate that. And good morning, West Coast. Good afternoon, East Coast. We appreciate everybody who listens to the show across the globe and across the country.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, listen, let's have a great conversation. And again, if you don't hear it, I promise I'll post it as an audio, as a pod. I know I say that all the time, but I'll do it today because my brain is working a lot better in the last few weeks. I'm eating clean, like I was telling Combo before we started recording. I'm a proponent, no dairy, no caffeine, no gluten, no what else? No sugar. I think no sugar is the biggest one.
Yeah, and also when you have discipline, no matter what it's for, I think that's a great feeling as well, right? Like setting something up, then actually following through with it. It's all about discipline, and that makes you feel great.
That is the wise words from young Combo, and absolutely, it is because I'm hungry all the time. But it's like I kind of feel good about it. I'm owning that, and I feel like yes, and my body is actually like almost like burning calories as I'm hungry. Even though it's kind of what it's doing, but it almost feels like I'm churning more because it's like my body needs more food, and I'm just trying to keep it at bay. Oh, the other thing I want to say is that when you don't eat processed sugar a lot or at all, the hunger is much more manageable. I think that when you eat a lot of processed sugar, when you get those hungry pains, it's like you can't control it. You have to eat, and it's a really big thing.
Yeah, I think complex carbs also, they make you more hungry. Like if you ever eat bread, you're just like more hungry after. But if you eat like a nice salad and a piece of chicken, right, you're not as hungry after that, I think.
Absolutely. Maybe a little rice,
Rice, yeah, why not?
Why not? All right, well, let's get back to the NBA stuff because I just did a couple of videos that watched a little bit. The Embiid one didn't do so well. I'm not sure why. People, please tell me what was wrong with the Embiid. He had two monster games, put himself into the MVP discussion, although he's already in that anyway. But we did one on Luka as well. And so we have an interesting, comparison here because Luka is kind of doing the heliocentric offense from the perimeter. And Embiid is kind of doing it from the low post or sort of a hybrid. So what have you been watching him recently? Do you have any thoughts about them?
Embiid, yeah, he just has like guard skills for somebody who's 7'1", and it seems like he weighs 280 pounds. It's just phenomenal the way he moves. It doesn't look real. I know everybody's talking about Wemby's a video game, but we have somebody who's in the NBA that's a video game already. Like the way he moves at that size doesn't even seem real at times.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because he's not like, there are faster guys at 7 feet tall. It's in terms of straight line, rim to rim.
Fluidity.
Yeah, but like it's almost just a skill level. Here's my question, and I posted this on Twitter a few days ago, is they do a ton of ISO, of actions to get him ISOs at the elbows. And I said, not since Kobe had we seen a guy who really works so much out of that area. And I think you got to double him. And I know why Doc's doing it because it's really hard to double him at that position there because it opens up cuts for layups. But I don't think you can let him do his ISO dance, honestly, on his own and hope to stop him if you don't send another defender.
Yeah, on top of that, he's been doing a great job of leveraging his scoring for better passes, the way that Jokic kind of does it oppositely. Like he starts with the pass and then leverages that for scoring. So I think he's been actually doing a great job of finding others when he needs to, even though obviously when you're scoring 59 points, how much passing are you really doing?
Yeah, right, exactly. But he had 8 assists in that game.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so that's another thing was he's in. So obviously the elephant in the room is that James Harden is not on the court. So he's going to increase that usage. And that always seemed to me a reason why he'd struggle to get the MVP is because with Harden on the team, he's going to have to suffer or his numbers are going to go down. But you know what? Even with Harden on the floor, he was still, 28, 29 points a game. So he is still filling it up. We got to talk about that too. I was listening to Windhorse podcast, and I don't listen to any other NBAs, but for some reason I really like, I know why, but Windhorse has a really good pod. They were talking about how many 30-point of a game scorers there are right now. and I'm going to do a video on this. It's interesting. But before we get to that, we have our first super chat. And don't forget, if you want your question to be answered by us and we put it up on the screen, give you all sorts of love, then on the YouTube side, super chat's the way to go. It really helps us keep the show going. And again, we have Flambeau123, who I think might be a newer part of the show. I don't remember seeing one from them before, but thank you so much with the awesome anime artwork on there. So really generous. Thank you so much, Flambeau. Where would you rank the Bucks organization from a talent development perspective? Seems like their team is built off of other people's scraps. What are your take? You're a talent development person. What do you think?
I mean, I think there's a couple of teams that do a great job of that. The Heat, the Toronto Raptors, the Warriors, even though they're not playing well right now. I mean, I think they do a great job with development. But yeah, the Bucks, I mean, they developed Giannis in a great way. Obviously, a lot of that fell on Giannis and his own doing, but I think they are great at developing talent, and they've been doing a great job. And they're a winning organization with winning culture.
You know, I obviously the Giannis one's interesting because what they did to his jump shot was inexcusable. But let me just check. I feel like, oh no,
right, his jump shot was like better in the beginning. I remember, right?
Yeah, and so somebody with the Bucks worked with him, and that's what we have now. And for a second, I was going to say, oh, he's much better now from the free throw line. It's something, you know. But this year is not great. 64% from the line. They're going to have to put him on the line and do hack a Giannis then. And his 3-point percentage, which I thought was like 30% 2 years ago, 29 last year. There seemed like maybe he could make it more respectable. It's down to 24%. And we had seen stuff in the offseason like, oh look, hey, he's really worked on it. So that ain't working. He's at least keeping the attempts down to 3.3 a game this year. But so that's interesting. And again, who else have they developed? If you look at their roster that you feel like from the time they were drafted to now, I don't know if I put anybody else on there.
Well, he's saying built off people's scraps. So I guess he's not even talking about through the draft and through young players. I guess developing players who came to their team, I guess he's talking about.
I mean, it's interesting. Either you can think that he's saying that they had developed the scraps that no one else could get production out of, or they're just getting the people into the who are already developed with the need, and then there they are. They're not actually developing them. I'm kind of going with that. I mean, Middleton spent some time. Was Middleton
G League?
Was he drafted by the Bucks? Yeah,
he's always played so. Bucks, but right? he was definitely one of the better G League players to ever play.
Yeah, and by the way, Middleton would be a good example because here's a guy who came in a little unheralded, and he was with Detroit the first year.
And that's when the G League wasn't even as good as it is now. I think we're going to see a lot more stories. Like we've seen Jordan Poole already, right? Like we're going to see a lot more of that. Middleton did that earlier when the G League wasn't as developed.
Yes. And Wiseman's going to be the next one, right?
Yeah.
We'll see. So I think that's interesting. I'm looking at the roster right now for the Bucks to see if there's anybody else. Like Drew Holiday was developed elsewhere. Grayson Allen, Wesley Matthews, George Hill, New Orleans, Bobby.
They got the kid from Seton Hall, who I think is a really interesting prospect. 6'11", kind of handle the ball.
Sandro.
Exactly.
What's funny is last year I was eating at Trejo, not Jimmy Trejo, the guy who plays in Spy Kids and all those, not Jimmy Trejo, what the heck is his name? Trejo, Spy Kids, Danny Trejo. He has a bunch of, he has a really great restaurant in LA. And I'm sitting there and here's this guy, he's 6'10", he's huge, he's got tattoos. I'm looking at him like, he's got to be in the NBA. I can't figure, maybe he had a Bucks tattoo. Or maybe he's wearing Bucks, stuff. And then I couldn't recognize him. I had no idea who it was. And I looked it up. It was him. It was Sandro. So he was eating down the street from where I live, which is kind of funny.
I was about to say that's true loyalty to a team to get a Bucks tattoo when you play for them.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe it was just the gear. Okay. Has he been playing? Let's see. I haven't watched the Bucks. He's only played in 5 games. He's getting no time. But yeah, it would be nice to see if he could do something out there. But either
way, all about opportunity for guys like that. Like sometimes they just don't get the opportunity, and then all of a sudden they get the opportunity, and they're like, "Oh, this guy took a leap," but no, he just got the opportunity at the end of the day. I think he's a really interesting player.
Totally, and we can't. So the bottom line is there isn't really a lot of evidence to look at the Bucks roster as it is currently and say, "Hey, they developed all these players. Look how good that is." It might be good, but right now, for how they put it together, they've been grabbing people from other teams and plugging in. Now, maybe Brook Lopez 3-point shooting maybe that was developed more from the Bucks side when he got there. That's possible. But he was certainly a fully foreign player when he got there. So interesting question. And so I don't know. I'd probably rank them, lower than others only because there might be a little bit of lack of evidence. But either way, they're doing very well this year.
Yeah, the evolution of Lopez's game is really insane. The way he played earlier with the Nets, he was kind of like an ISO mid-range guy, or back you down from the 3-point line to the basket, and now he's, a lot of his shot profile is all from three. It seems like at this point, and around the rim.
Yeah, no, he is the unicorn, especially when he's protecting the rim well. Now you got a guy who can protect the rim and shoot threes, which is what like the Wembanyama thing could be. Although I'm worried about him. I had somebody was at the game in Paris where he did one of the crazy moves where off the 1-footer. The first time we saw a 1-footed three, he just did one the other day as well. And he was saying he's getting pushed around. He doesn't hold his position very well anywhere near the basket. So he might end up just being, at least in the very beginning until he gets stronger, a completely perimeter player and maybe not find himself around the rim too much. We'll see. If Chet can do it when he gets healthy, then that'll be some indication. But I'm worried about that from him as well.
Are you truly concerned? Because I really believe there's probably absolutely no bust potential when it comes to Wemby. Like if he stays healthy.
Oh, yes, but it doesn't mean he's going to be anchored into the lane and blocking shots all over.
Right.
I mean, obviously, what I see from him on the offensive side is really what makes me really excited. I need to study more of the defensive stuff to see how it translates.
He can really slide his puppies on the perimeter. He protects the rim well from what I'm seeing. And obviously, when you're 7'4" with an 8-foot wingspan, I mean, that doesn't hurt as well on the defensive side of things. So I think he's a two-way player. I think he'll be okay.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm anxious to see it, and his move. I feel a lot better about him and his movement pattern versus Chet in a way that to me that feels like I'm not as worried about him getting injured. Although they did show the one of those moves where he fell and his knee buckled in a way that was like, how did he not get hurt? So maybe he's ultra flexible that way, which is why he's more explosive than someone like Chet. But that's the worry. But I don't have it as much as I do with Chet, for instance.
I mean, two words you don't want to hear: knee and buckling. Not good.
No, not good at all. But so let's talk about. So anyway, do you think that we should be doubling Embiid on the elbows?
Yes, because he is he's an adequate to good passer.
Right.
But the scoring is his biggest threat. So, yeah, of course, I think you should double him. And then at times, especially like when maybe Tyball's on the floor, there's guys that don't space it for them. So, yeah, for sure.
You have two different trains of thought. You can say, okay, let him get his and we'll shut down everybody else, which is not so hard because, when Harden is not out there, there's less, shot making, less, guys attacking up the dribble a little bit. Maxey, I think, is doing a really nice job. So you could think we'll shut them down, or you can shut him down and dare the other guys to try and beat you. I think it's interesting. They're both valid, but it's interesting to see how that will play out. I would probably say, let's see what happens to the other guys. Get it out of his hands. Stop him from shooting those easy 16, 17-foot shots. And then just make sure you're not letting him get the easy pass right in front of him for the layups. Those are the ones I think are going to kill you. If you can stop those and make him make a pass to the perimeter, then you're in business.
Well, of course, it always matters who the personnel around that player is, but I think it's a harder decision when you're talking about LeBron, Luka, Jokic, because they're better passers. So, maybe you stay at home with them, but with somebody like Embiid, who's not the passer that those players are, I think double is the move most of the time. But of course, you want to throw different looks at Embiid.
For sure. I'm queuing something else that I want to talk about in a minute because I think it's interesting. But now let's talk about Luka for a little bit, right? Did you see that shot that Luka hit to tie the game at the buzzer?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not anything. This is why you practice variability, right? This is why you practice weird passes, weird movements, turning around and shoot all that stuff, because you never know in your situation where just have to catch it and let it fly.
You also have to play your sport, outside of I think sometimes players today, I don't want to get into skill development tangent, but they place too much stock on skill development and don't play basketball enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And that's where you'll get those moments in a pickup. I just saw somebody tweeting, you have to play more pickup. Kids are not playing pickup a lot.
Right.
And that might be true. I mean, I remember it was all we did. I mean, it was a really big proponent when I was growing up playing, and it didn't matter if it was 3-on-3 or 5-on-5. I mean, actually, 5-on-5 was probably a little bit more rare. I feel like there was always enough kids in the gym where we would just go 4-on-4 half court because there's so many kids, and you couldn't always get the whole thing going. And I love half court 4-on-4. I mean, I think there's a lot of really good skill development on that end too.
Well, college basketball, a lot of practice. They do 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5. I remember overseas they do a lot of full court, 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, everything.
It's amazing that you bring up college basketball. I don't even know how you knew to do this because it's exactly what we're going to talk about next. As I tweeted out, so friend of the breakdown, Half Court Hoops, Gib, had tweeted out an awesome play that Tom Izzo ran. And of course, Tom Izzo and I are old friends. We go way back. And Tom Izzo's X's and O's are not the issue. Those are always been terrific. He knows how to do that. So I'm going to share this. I'm going to go full screen.
Still on the baseline. Back to Walker. They got something going here.
I'm going to share this for you in a second because I want you to see this. This is a really good coaching moment for a lot of people. And it's not Izzo. It's Izzo's coaching, looking over what he did, but it's what the other coach did. So let me share the screen here real quick. How does this look? Can we see this? Okay. Yep. All right, so this is not a bounce play. You'll see Michigan State's down by 2, 7.6 seconds left in overtime. Kentucky up by 2. Okay, full court inbound. This is not a timeout, by the way. It was after a made free throw, I believe. So there was a little bit of a break in action, but certainly like they had a chance to get organized here. Kentucky did. Now, watch what happens. Here comes the inbound. Now, here's a great play, and watch what they do. They inbound it to the out of bounds again. Now, a lot of people would seem to be confused about this. At every level of the game, down to 5th grade basketball, you can make a pass to another player on the out of bounds like this off of a made basket. Okay, you know that rule, right?
Yes.
And so every once in a while, you'll see this used as a play, right, where you can throw it to them, and that confuses the defense. Yes,
but it's almost done more in the college game than in the NBA. You rarely see it in the NBA.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a while. We saw it at some point, but it's been a while. But hang on. So here we go. Here's the play. They throw the ball, a baseline to baseline out of bounds. It's totally legal as long as he's out of bounds. Then they throw the a long down court pass, boom, 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 a pass fake, right to the basket, dunk, tie game. Okay, right? We're all excited. Look at this amazing Tom Izzo play. It's so genius, whatever. Obviously, a lot of it had to do with the fact that they had somebody falling down. Can you see my mouse?
Yes.
So watch going on over here. There's going to be some wrestling going on, and he falls down, and then that gets in the way of the defender who's going to try to jump over him, whatever. Okay, but here's the question nobody wanted to ask. I had to retweet this because I'm still so outraged by what this was. Look at it from the other perspective. Calipari's team is up by 2. Why are they full court pressing, face guarding the guy? What are they doing? This makes no sense. In fact, the only way you're going to give up an easy 2 is by stretching your defense all the way to the backcourt. This is single-handedly the worst coaching decision I've seen made in a long time. And I'm not surprised it's Calipari because he does this kind of stuff. I've documented it a lot of times in different videos. But do you recognize what I'm trying to tell you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. You're going to be nice to Calipari. Maybe you're friends with him. I don't know.
I mean, it's not the smartest move. What can I say?
I mean, it's like this is what 9th grade coaches would know not to do. Remember, all you got to do is put one guy in the backcourt to prevent him from rolling it up. Okay, there's 7 seconds to go. Now, a really great buddy of mine, and who I respect to the nth degree, who's a college coach, wanted to say, well, what, you want to let him just run a play that's designed to, a really clever play to get a good shot? I'm like, what play are they running? There's 7 seconds to go. You're inbounding on the backcourt. It's half of that time is going to be taken up getting up the floor. You're going to run this really amazing, clever play for a good-looking shot with 3.5 seconds, in 3.5 seconds? No, I mean, I don't understand this. Listen, Calipari does a nice service, and he really lifts up his players. They get a lot of money when they get out of there. A lot of them do in different leagues. So that's good. But you go to college, you get to this elite D1 program expecting to be coached well, and that ain't happening. And that's prime example there. I'm mortified.
I wonder if the players said anything.
I'm going to have to dig into it and look. And remember, it was after a brief timeout. And you can see Calipari, he's waving. He's like, yeah, get up on them, face guard, whatever. It was like he wanted this. This is what he told his players to do. And all they had to do was sink back, not let him roll it up, and they would have won the game on a terrible looking shot at the end of the game, from half court. And
Contain and contest, right?
yeah, don't foul, whatever. I mean, it's like I'm shocked, and whatever. But hey, kudos to Izzo for the good play. And I suppose he must have been wetting his pants when he saw what Kentucky was doing. And I have to imagine as soon as they hit that shot and they ultimately won in like double overtime, they must have ran back to the locker room, the coaching staff, and were like, what the hell was Calipari doing? They had to have been doing that and thanking their lucky stars that he did. So anyway, we have another super chat. Let's get to that one. Felipe. Oh, with the cute dog. Thank you so much, Felipe. Really, really appreciate it. And then what's the R? Do we ever remember what the R is for the currency? R.
Ruples?
What? Ruples?
Maybe.
Ruples like in Russia? Is that what the ruples are? The Russian ruble? Something like that? Maybe.
In India?
Or no, India. India is ruples. What is Russia? Russia is oh my God. Anyway, someone will tell us in the chat and tell us how stupid we are. Or how stupid I am. What do you think about the T-Wolves? In my opinion, big mistake trading for Rudy. They should have traded Cat and bet on Edwards for the future. Okay. This is another video I got coming up. I got a beat writer who's going to come on the show and discuss it more. And two, it is another little thing. Have you watched a lot of the Timberwolves? They've been on social media recently.
I've watched some.
Okay. What are your thoughts?
The spacing is bad. And the Cat Rudy experiment is not going well. And I think the way Rudy plays offense is even worse now for when he first came in the league because of how the game evolved.
Okay. I agree with all of that. And I'm sorry, I'm reading some people who are saying I have irrational hatred of Marcus Smart. It's weird. It's not irrational when you come with receipts. And then they want to say my hypocritical Giannis takes. So that's interesting. I don't think hypocritical is the right word, but nonetheless,
they could come on the show. Send a super chat. We'll get your questions on the show.
Yeah. Now, but here's the thing about Giannis, by the way. I love Giannis. I think he is probably the best teammate of all time. I mean, he's hilarious. I think he'd be so fun to be part of a locker room with. A. B, he's the single most dominant player in the NBA. Like, whatever. So what do you want from me? Like,
Did you see the clip where he's like, I got handle, I'm handsome.
No.
I didn't get a jump shot. God had to humble me some way,
Oh no, I need to see that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It was so funny, bro. Oh man,
listen, he's the most dominant. Will he, from 4 feet away, do a jump hook into an air ball? Yes. Should that really happen? No. And is it annoying and frustrating? Yes. But I'm frustrated by anybody who shoots air balls from 4 feet on jump hook. I just saw it the other day. So like,
part of his mentality comes from him playing overseas, where it's more growing up. It's more team oriented than individual oriented that we have here when it comes to AAU basketball. I think it's a big proponent of that. Everything's iso ball, everything's individualistic. And I think Giannis really has that overseas mentality. Like, he called himself a role player.
Right.
Recently.
You know what? I would argue that it's even more his background being like growing up so poor, and having nothing. And then being really rich and whatever. But he is so philosophical. I love the way he thinks about the game and about life. So all those sound bites are awesome from him. So listen, there's just some skill deficit there that I would like to see him shore up a little bit more. At some point he won't be able to run everybody over like he does. He's going to need a little bit more of the touch. Okay, so let's get back to the T-Wolves, because obviously Felipe wants to hear what he did. Oh, Brazil, it's Real. Yes.
And thanks for the super chat, Felipe.
And thank you, Felipe, so much. Well, can we? Is it gracias in Portuguese? Gracias, andiamo. I don't know. I forgot how you speak Portuguese now. But thank you. So yes, obviously it was a huge mistake. It didn't make sense when they did it, partly because Cat was the best he was as a center. And now you're putting him in a different position, which is, while you might consider it sort of subtle in terms of attack and the way he moves on the court, it does change everything like you're talking about. Then they also decided, and another one of these coaching things, I think it was a couple weeks ago on a Sunday, I was at my in-laws' house and watching the game, and it was the second quarter, and they're running plays. First of all, I saw like 3 or 4 just awful plays by Rudy in a row, like fumble the ball, I can't finish, this and that, whatever. I think it was all offensive mostly. I even kind of grabbed some of my phone and send them some to people. I'm like, you won't believe this. I fall asleep after the first 3 minutes of the second quarter. I wake up with like 2 minutes left in the second quarter, like before the half, and he does another like 2 or 3 awful plays right in a row as if nothing had happened. As if I hadn't fallen asleep at all. and they're trying to feed him in the post. They're running plays that are designed to feed Rudy in the post. Now, I know that's going to go away soon, and if it already hasn't, maybe it already has. But, like, what are we doing here? What do you think is going to happen when you throw it down there? It ain't going to be good. It'll be a travel or a turnover or a bad shot, and every once in a while, he can kind of turn into a little bit of a lefty hook or something. But it's the X's and O's as well that are really problematic, and this has been a kind of a disaster for them, and they were on a much different trajectory, and now we're seeing Cat out there, right? And by the way, I want to say that there are some videos out there that people are trying to do edits showing like bad defense, and it's such horrible commentary, it's such horrible analysis because they don't know what they're looking at. Like sometimes it's not bad defense. We can get into that later because I might want to light some people up. People wanted me to do it. I had people on Twitter saying, please light them up. Let us know. We'll do a video. Anyway, the point being that some of the stuff from Cat I can see. The bad body language, whatever. Some of the stuff from Cat was like, that was fine. That was, he ran where he needed to run, and the other guy didn't rotate, and that's not on Cat. But I would be surprised if there isn't a locker room issue going on too with like, Rudy's is he being serious enough about stuff, and is he taking this stuff seriously? Is Cat focused enough? Is Anthony Edwards really upset about his role now, and he's not getting enough touches or enough usage in the offense? It's a serious thing, and again, you got to look at chemistry and fit a lot of the time versus just like a big name or contracts.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people saw this coming. It's almost like the Russell Westbrook thing with the Lakers, even though he's playing a lot better now. I mean, it didn't take an expert to realize that the fit wasn't going to be amazing with these two players in the modern NBA.
I'm looking up Anthony Edwards' numbers right now because I want to see if it's dropped, how much it's dropped recently. So from last year, as a second-year player, he was at, let's do per 36 because we can compare apples to apples. So, he was at 22 points a game per 36, and now he's down to 20.9. So he's down in a way that trajectory should only be going up, right? His attempts are down a little bit. The three-point percentage is down as well, and the attempts there. But probably the biggest drop is in attempts, almost 2 attempts from the three-point line less this year. And everything else seems like it's pretty much leveled out. So I would be upset too, because I would have thought, yeah, I'm on my way toward getting into the MVP conversation, which is what I thought he'd be on. And you don't want to stall that out for a year for a silly thing. So the suggestion by Felipe would be that they should have traded Cat and bet on Edwards. I mean, certainly betting on Edwards for the future was the bet. And then, and Cat, it's interesting to find out whether he does have, I mean, I don't want to brand anybody. It's certainly when you read about it, there is this notion, does he train as hard? Is he as focused as he could be in this game? He's still awesome. He fills up the box score, so you can't sort of argue against that. But I don't think I would have wanted Rudy either. So, you know what I mean? I think that maybe trading Cat for somebody better would have worked too. And then just not getting Rudy too would have really, lifted them up. So I think, we'll find out it's a mistake. And welcome to the NBA, A-Rod, and whoever else bought the team. Did they buy the team? I think they bought the team, right?
No, I think they did. They did. He has a group. It's not just him, though. It's like a group.
Okay. We have a lot more super chat. Let's get to them. So Martin Jose, friend of the breakdown. Martin, thank you. Which playoff team should sign Carmelo Anthony? Yeah, isn't that amazing? He's not playing at all. What do you think?
Maybe the Heat, off the bench scoring.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, let's just real quick look at the Heat. I'm kind of curious what their offensive rating is right now. If they could use a boost here. So unless you know it already, do you know it off the hand?
Their offensive rating?
Yeah, come on. You don't know the Heat offensive rating? All right, you want to guess? No. How about you try and guess the ranking in offensive rating?
17th.
Wow. You know what? You need to do my picks for Fantasy Underdog going forward. 15th. That was really close. So they're exactly the mean in the league. And so, yes, they certainly could use a little bit of boost from you know what? The question then is, what are they shooting from behind the line? The problem is the stats, the NBA page is so effed up with their shooting that it's not right. I can't get the information there. But anyway, the point being that I'm sure they could use a little bit of a boost. Maybe they can kind of hide in behind Bam and some of the other defensive players. So maybe that's an interesting. I'm sure he'd like to play in Miami, in the warm weather.
Why not?
So I'll go with Miami. I mean, listen, could he do something like if the Warriors were having a much better year now and they were really moving the ball, whatever? Could I see him maybe sliding in there for fun? Like maybe, although Would he get the ball moving like they need him to? I don't know. Yeah. So those are the teams. Like a really good team would take a chance if they have a nice lead in the standings and whatnot. So good there. Because we got to talk about Jazz in a minute. I got some numbers to talk about, but let's get to Mike Quaglia. Thank you so much, Mike. Mike has been just a huge supporter of the show since we started this, and I can't thank you. His generosity.
Thanks, Mike.
No bounds. Thank you very much, Mike. I hope everything is going well heading into the holidays for you and your family. Do you think the Celtics defense will get back to last year's form when Time Lord comes back? Combo.
Yeah, because he's a total difference maker on the defensive side of the floor. I think he has probably one of the highest impacts when it comes to anybody in the NBA when we're talking about defense.
Do we know what his prognosis is and when he's coming back?
I do not.
Robert Williams. Let's see here. Injury update NBC Sports. I'll tell you 1 second because I'm kind of curious. And you're right. Without question, what he can do on the floor will make them better. And they're already doing kind of nicely. So the defensive rating, let me see. Actually,
he's also a guy like if your team is doing well, he's not going to mess up chemistry in any way because he doesn't need the basketball. He's just going to fit in really nicely back in the lineup.
Yes, exactly. And so right now they're 19th. I would be willing to bet if he gets back in the lineup and playing minutes that 19th gets to 12th. You know what I mean? Like in a hurry if he's getting normal minutes. If they're going to walking back slowly, then that would be something different. But their offense is so good though right now. It's an all-time high for offensive rating. Another video I got to do. I got a huge list here I got to deal with for videos to get done. And I need to kind of pull through exactly what's going on. But, obviously the real answer for there is Tatum. Tatum is just lighting it up and just, filling it up. I think he's 30 points a game at this point. Let me call it up real quick. And I think Brown is also, let's do it. Let me give you the real numbers here. So let me get to the Boston's page. So we have the 1-2 punch of Tatum and Brown is Tatum's at 32 points a game, basically, and Brown's at 25. And then after that, they have a little smattering here with Marcus Smart, Al Horford, and Malcolm Brogdon doing very nicely off the bench. So they're really killing it out there on that end. And so, yes, all they need to be in serious championship contention is to get that defense as close as they can to top 10 in defensive rating, and then they'll be there. And the Time Lord certainly helps with that.
Yeah, they're not missing a beat after all the controversy. That's great to see. Jason Tatum took another leap. Jaylen Brown continues to improve. And obviously with the addition of Brogdon, that's going to help a lot come playoff time.
I got a question for you because this came up yesterday at lunch. I wonder if the fight, because you just talked about everyone's getting along, the chemistry. I wonder after Ime, I wonder if the punch by Draymond had any effect on these early season issues with the Warriors.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they might have been losing anyway, to be honest. Like, we don't really know. It might not have been a great start to the season anyway, but that has all kinds of social and hierarchy and all kinds of mental things that you can't even put into words. Like, it just wasn't a good look, and the vibes are off for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and the vibes are important with a team like the Warriors. They play on the vibes. Everybody has fights. Now, this one I would say was probably on the upper edge of like viciousness and like really big punch and connecting, because a lot of times the fights don't ever get the punches thrown right before they get broken up. So because I would like to argue, they happen. It's common. People don't know it. They don't always see it. But that may be the point as well, is when it became out, and no one ever figured that out, right? They never solved how that footage got leaked, right?
Not that I heard.
Yeah. Although I wonder, look if anyone has formerly of Synergy or one, that kind of group, because they're the ones who also had the access to it. So we'll see if you search LinkedIn, maybe you'll see it. But nonetheless, the fact that it was public, then we all saw it. That made it a whole different thing. So maybe Draymond is a not easy guy to get along with. He's a handful, right? There's a lot of things going on when you're talking about Draymond. So that is interesting. Let me just see here. Do we have any more super chats? Yes, we do. We have a bunch. So let me get to James Lopez. Thank you so much, James. And let me make sure I don't have anybody else I missed. Okay, James Lopez. Are Lakers better than record? Thank you, big fan. Thank you, James. I really appreciate it. The Lakers are not better than their record. I don't know if you saw Twitter today. I tweeted out, let's see. 4 teams since 2000 have made the playoffs after starting 3-10. Ironically, there's a player on the last team to do it that's also on the Lakers right now. Do you know who that player is?
LeBron James?
No.
Who?
Well, no.
Who?
Russell Westbrook.
Ooh.
Wizards, 2021. Started 3-10.
He played really well there.
Yeah. So he can do it again, right? I mean, he's playing a little bit better. I watched a bunch of the games after he started coming off the bench, and then I lost track of them the last couple. But LeBron,
That's a good video.
I've done too many Laker videos, although I'll get to him. Okay.
I'm sure Laker videos do well.
They do, but I gotta have a little bit of variation, I think, right? Otherwise,
you did.
Warriors.
I mean, yeah, Warriors, you do a lot. Embiid and Luka was, that's Sixers, Dallas.
Yeah. And nobody watched the Embiid video. What the heck? Somebody tell me why it's not.
Doesn't that have to do with the algorithm sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, I might have released it a little bit later in the day than I wanted to, but I'm talking about a quarter of the views. You know what I mean? It's weird. Maybe it was the I don't know. I thought this was a really good thumbnail too.
Oh, that is really good. You know what it is? Maybe it's big men don't sell sneakers.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. And by the way, a couple of other highlight videos of his did one. It's not even a highlight. It's explaining.
I got to talk to you about this, Coach Nick.
All right, we got another super chat. But you want to talk about it quick, or you want to do it?
Yeah, go to super chat and then I'll talk about it.
Okay, MD. Thank you so much for the generous super chat as well. Isn't Cat averaging more points than Ant despite a slow start and on a better percentage though? Also, he's averaging more assists despite being a big. I'm sure that is true. I mean, let's check it right now before we talk completely out of our butts. But let me get the Timberwolves. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, if that's the stats, that's the stats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anthony, Cat is barely. He's like a half a point per game higher than Anthony Edwards. And he's grabbing rebounds. I think there's a chemistry thing more than anything above and all else. But there's no question that Cat isn't always that doesn't work that hard a lot of the time. He'll take possessions off, and he was getting dragged on Twitter, and there was some video. Some of it was not accurate, but some of it was. So you're thinking, well, I don't know the point of is the point of this that maybe they should trade Anthony Edwards and keep Cat?
You shouldn't trade Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, he's just an exciting guy, and they get people in the seats. And I think that if he continues on to progress, go ahead.
The lanes aren't open like they used to be with Cat and Rudy in the lineup. And you've seen he's had a lot less dunks this season. There's a lot less open court play. I mean, at this point, maybe they should just go pick and roll with Rudy and Ant and space it. Like Cat could space it, keep the floor open, make Rudy a rim running big, not post them up like you were talking about earlier.
They do that too, but Rudy's hands are terrible. It's like no one wants to throw him the ball. Here's what I've seen in my adult brain. I have in my my mind's eye, I could see times where he's open and they won't throw it to him because they know what will happen or potentially will happen.
Is it actually terrible? They're obviously not good or great. I would say they're average.
His hands?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say
he could get his own rebound, put it back up.
I'd still say a little bit below average, but okay. But you do it a couple times. They mishandle, they fumble, he misses a shot, whatever. You're not going to throw him the ball. You know better than me. Sometimes they're like, all right, I'm going to think better of it, and I don't necessarily blame them. That way, how good would that be? The video, top 5 guys in the NBA who teammates won't throw the ball to. Who else would that be though?
I mean, Ben Simmons right now, unfortunately. Ooh. I mean, I've been a big defender of his for years, but I think the Nets' patience of him are starting to wear thin, but he is coming off a back injury, and I'm hoping he'll come back to his old self eventually.
Okay, but that's good. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, who else?
Because then you got to search for the footage. I mean, you have to
remember Roberson from the OKC Thunder.
Robertson?
Yeah, Robertson.
Yeah, but I think you got it. Okay, I mean, but he's not even in the league, right?
Yeah, that's just somebody I thought of.
Anyway, there's probably a couple others you can do who are, guys like. Now, by the way, it could also be a guy who's just a gunner who, like I remember back in the day, Nick Young, for instance. You throw it to him, he's going to shoot it, right? So you got to be judicious on your passes to him because you know he's going to shoot. You got to look at a little bit. Is he in the right spot? Is it good? Okay, then I'll throw it to him because you know it's going up, and that's another interesting thing. But anyway, so
it just shows where we are in the NBA that it's hard to find names for this because it's becoming less and less common to even have a player on the court who can't dribble, pass, shoot.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's an interesting thing. And which is why, so here's the thing, 3-point shots are the commodity. Everybody wants them. And we also know that generally the 3-point percentage is the highest when you get an offensive rebound and kick it out. So in some respects, you'd want to have two traditional bigs to crash the boards and do that. And I think you could probably get away with that and avoid any kind of giving up layups or threes on the other end on the transition. Or it would be a worthy trade-off. But no one is quite willing to do that. We have, the Cleveland Cavaliers are doing some version of that with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. The question is it helping them? I don't know. Let's look at the 3-point percentage for where is it? I want traditional. Okay, let's do a real down and dirty version. So the Cavs, they're second in the league in 3-pointers. Now, also, how about offensive rebounds? That's the real key here. The Cavs are not even. Where are they? They're 15th. They're the mean. They're right in the middle for offensive rebounds per game. I probably should be doing offensive rebound percentage. At least I can find that real quick. But I'm sure it's probably the same. Offensive rebound percentage, Cavs are 14th. So they're not even necessarily benefiting from that per se. Although I guess it'd be worthy to look at the 3-point shots. That's an interesting number. The frequency of 3-point shots derived from an offensive rebound. Now that's an interesting stat. I wonder
those
if they
are high-level shots because that's the type of shot you get in practice. From the rim.
Right, the angle of the pass is the same, but also the defense is scrambled and they're not necessarily in position to guard you. So that's when you're also open there. I'm kind of curious. If I fire this up on Synergy, can I do play type or derived from? They only have post up, pick and roll, isolation. They don't have offensive rebound. That's too bad. I would like to see that. Okay, should we get to the Jazz?
Yeah, let's do it.
And I see people saying they only watch the Lakers videos I do, which makes sense because those are always do really well. Some other teams, it's hard for me. I got to do it. It's a business, but I definitely want to cover surprise teams and teams that don't get covered a lot. Felipe, thank you again. Right back with the Brazilian cash. Cat's not a winner. Weak-minded. Ask Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy is on the other extreme, and I think that Jimmy could have done a different version of what he did to help Cat get better versus what he tried. It didn't work. But okay, I can see that. There's something to that, right?
Jimmy's from a different cloth.
Yeah. And I get it. I don't mind it. I don't mind Jimmy being that way, being tough, but he also needs to read the room a little bit and know, this is the team you're on. These are the players you're playing with. Figure out how to motivate them properly. What he did was not the right way to do it. It was the wrong way to do it,
I mean, is it right or wrong? I mean, Kobe and MJ, they're more of the Jimmy Butler style, right? And I mean, you can't say they did it wrong. They just did it their way.
Here's my take on the Jordan thing. I think Jordan got better. I think the last 3 title championship teams, he wasn't as crazy. Although I guess we saw in the documentary, who is he? Gosh, who did they show? Was it that he was torturing?
Was it Steve Kerr?
No, well, no, because Kerr stood up to him, and then they kind of evened that out. So somebody, and that was in the later part, in the last 3 championships versus the first 3. So maybe he didn't get any better, but that's not the right way to do it. You know what I mean? I'm just saying it's not. You can get some results, but how about this? He did that for his first 7 years of his career, and they couldn't get into the conference finals or the finals. Maybe he would have gotten there earlier if he wouldn't have ran so many guards off the team. He literally destroyed, Steve Coulter was not going to probably get them to the conference finals or the finals. But I remember he ended his career before he began in Chicago by doing what he was doing, where maybe he could have put an arm around the guy, could have helped him a little bit, and the guy would have played better and they would have won more games earlier.
Steve Coulter name drop. Interesting.
Yeah. I got his autograph at the, season ticket, team thing before the season, 1987 or something like that, whatever year that was. So anyway, he was one of those guys I remember, but there was a whole series of players that got run out of Chicago because Michael just, destroyed their will basically on purpose.
How are your seats? Nice seats?
We had good seats. We had free throw line extended in about 15th row or 18th.
Good. I mean, you probably have a different perspective on MJ than others, seeing him that close. Oh, Coach Nick, I don't know. A lot of people don't know this. I was in the Garden for when he dropped 55.
Oh, the double nickel. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember I was in the stadium, Chicago Stadium, the next game, where I think it was when we were all talking about it. I remember that.
So, a quick story. It was easy to get tickets that year for the Bulls because nobody knew Jordan would be playing. So, my dad got the tickets, and it wasn't even hard to get. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, right. That's right. Because he had just came back then the return. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that was a weird stretch of that season or of that era, where he came back and they lost the Magic.
Right.
Weird, very strange. Okay, so let's talk about the Jazz. So the Jazz are a surprising 10-6, and they were actually 10-5, and they really, I think, kind of a bad home loss to the Knicks last night maybe it was. That was a team that they should have been able to beat at home after some rest, and they now have a few more days before they play again. Have you watched them? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think they got a lot of good NBA players. Not great. There's nobody that's going to take them to the next level, but a lot of guys that could play basketball when it comes to Marketed, Clarkson, Olynyk could score, not the greatest defender. Sexton is a guy that they're using in the right role, maybe not playing him 40 minutes, but he's playing just the right amount of minutes where if he's on a hot streak, he could help you. They got a lot of good NBA players. No great NBA players, but a lot of good. And Marketed has took yet another leap. I mean, he's had good seasons with the Bulls in the past. He helped Cleveland win last year, but I think Eurobasket really helped him this offseason, and he's had some dominant performances.
Yeah, no, there's no question that the Eurobasket helped him. And I probably almost in the sense that the coaches were watching that and said, okay, let's use him the same way or a lot more the similar way than he had been being used. Although there were flashes early in his career in Chicago where we saw that. And I did a video on it and I was like, this is exciting. And then he lost his confidence and they couldn't keep developing it for whatever reason. Other guys came in and sort of took the ball out of his hands. The only thing I'd say about him right now is his 3-point percentage based on his jump shot's beautiful. It should be a lot higher. He should be closer to 40%. Right now it's under 35. And that'll really help. I think that'll turn some things around and maybe get them back in the win column. But here's what's interesting. There's only 3 players, as far as I can tell, that have had at least 19 pick and roll ball handler possessions and 19 pick and roll man possessions. And he is one of them. You want to guess who the other 2 are?
Oh,
well, you're not going to guess? So think about that. You have to
say it one more time. Say it one more time.
Very rarely would you have a player that gets a lot of roll man possessions and pick and roll ball handler possessions.
Okay, let me think.
Other guys who have had at least 19.
LeBron James.
No, I don't think he's played. You know what? I didn't see him in the list. I don't think so. But
he has been doing more of that lately.
As a roll man, I don't think he's got 19 roll man. But I'm going to check for you real quick. But go. Who do you think the other 2 are?
Wow, that's tough. I'm trying to think.
Think about who. There's one.
Well, does Pop count too?
Does who count?
If you pop instead of roll.
Oh yeah, they'll count those at least I think in
KD.
No, we talked about them already. Who I'm thinking about.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, you know what? You are right. No, pick and roll man. No, LeBron has plenty of ball handler, but not a lot of roll man. He's not setting a lot of screens. Okay. The first one we talked about. You're not going to figure it out. We had talked about him already for a while. Let's see. Can somebody in the Let's see. Somebody in the comments.
No, he's not having the ball.
No. Who can think about it? Who has more than 19 pick and roll ball handler possessions as a ball handler, and then also more than 19 as a
Russ.
Who?
Russ?
No, he's not. He's setting a few screens, but you know what? No. It's not Luka. Luka's not setting screens.
Yeah.
Nobody. We already talked about him. That should be the biggest giveaway of all. I don't see anybody in the comments coming up with this. Come on now. I'll put you on the screen if anybody gets it. There's 2 of them, actually. We talked about both of these guys. One for a while and one brief. Okay. We got our first answer here. Tatum is one of them.
Yeah, I didn't know he set that. I didn't really see him setting screens. I thought about him.
Yeah.
Though.
He has, I think he has exactly like 19, whenever it was, he had the minimum, but he got it. Okay.
Okay.
And then right afterwards, all right, we finally got Trey Chapo, got Giannis. He's the other guy. Giannis is way above on both of those. So he is even more than Lowry. So think about Lauri Markkanen is in the conversation, is a unique offensive player with Giannis and Tatum. I find that fascinating. So that's what I'm going to focus on in the video. Now, he's not like amazing at the pick and roll ball handler, but they're letting him do it and they're varying his attacks. And that's exciting to see.
They're trying to figure out exactly what they got with him there, right? Like maybe this is a guy, even though they want to tank, maybe we keep and build around him. You never know. We want to see exactly how good this guy is. And I think that's what they're going with.
Yeah. I'm just kind of curious what his rankings are.
Who do you think's better, him or Franz Wagner?
Ooh, you know what? I don't know. That's a really tough one. I don't know. I don't know if I can choose. Can you?
I think Franz got more potential. And I think they're around the same right now, as of right now.
Okay. I mean, Franz is probably producing the same, right?
He got more elusiveness around the lane. That's what I like about Franz. He got different kinds of finishes, you know?
Yeah. All right. I think Lowry could do it too. I would like to see him continue on that path too.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious. So Lowry as a roll man is very good, 72nd percentile. And as a ball handler, he's 34th percentile, which is, kind of below average, which is what I've been seeing. And, it's not going great, but he's doing it. And I think maybe if he continues to do it, he'll continue getting better at it. So we'll see. So that was it. It was Tatum and Giannis. That was the answer. So good job by those guys. And here's the other thing that's interesting. So they're shooting a lot of threes, and they're shooting pretty well from three. So I think that's a big thing. But here's the stat I was able to tease out of all this. This is the video for today or for tomorrow. 9 of their 10 wins, they made at least 5 or more threes than the other team. Now, they're defending the three also very well. They're limiting the amount of attempts against them, and they're limiting the three-point percentage itself. So there's that's a double whammy there where, remember, if you score, I think it's – if you score, I don't know if I can do it while we're talking, but if I know if it was 7 or more threes a game, if you made more than 7 or more threes than your opponent, it was like an 85% winning percentage. So if you make 5 more than the other team, then it's easily 70 something. I'm sure, maybe closer to 80. Mm-hmm. So remember, if you can get outscored by 15 points from behind the line, you're not going to win a lot of those games. And I think that's sort of the difference here is what they're doing. They're nailing their threes. And I think all 10 wins came when they made more threes than the other team, but the 9 of them were with 5 or more. So can you sustain that? What do you think?
Yeah,
you can.
I think they can. You mean that? Can they?
Yes.
Yeah, I like the players that they have.
All right. Here's another interesting thing. Let's
like marketing will improve throughout the course of the season, right? With his shooting.
I would think he gets closer to at least average 36, 37.
Jordan Clarkson, absolute bucket getter.
Yeah,
Sexton can knock down the three.
Okay, so let's look at the 3-point percentage, because at some point Clarkson was way over 40% and was like, whoa, which is an anomaly for him. He's now down to 38%. It's gone down like 4 points in a hurry. Now Malik Beasley, good shooter. He's been around for a long time. He's pretty proven. He's at 40, almost 42%. Jared Vanderbilt, only on 1 attempt a game, and he's at 44%. Vanderbilt's career, I'm kind of curious real quick. His career 3-point percentage is, 27.
Yeah, that's not really what he does. He's a point guard.
Yeah, he doesn't really take many, but he's taken 1 a game, which is a high by far. Like
if you were his coach, would you tell him to take 3 a game?
I probably would tell him to take a couple more. Yeah, let's find out. And if you go from 43.8% to 37%, great. That's okay. Yeah. Let's see here. Who else is playing a lot? Colin Sexton, 37%. Okay, I bet you he can hover around 37. He's not taking many either. And
he could get hot on some nights and go above 37. You never know.
He's not taking a ton. He's not playing a ton either. Mike Conley, 36%. That's probably close to where his average is. He could probably sustain that. And then Lauri Markkanen at 35. Okay, so I think that sold me. I think that they could probably keep this up to some degree and continue to shoot well. I don't know if it's good enough. I don't know, but it might be enough to keep them in the conversation and win, at the percentage they are now, which is, what the 10-6 is. Where's what's that percentage? Standings. 10-6. I mean, they're only a game out of first place right now, but that's early in the season. But they're at 62%, 63% of their games are winning.
Blazers are number one, right?
Blazers are number one. That's the other video I got to do.
And nobody's talking about that.
No, I need to do that next. I committed to the Jazz when they were like 10-4 or whatever. Now, whatever it was. But,
I may or may not be having a Blazers pod coming out soon. So,
excuse me. They were 10-3. The Jazz. They lost 3 in a row. Oh. So, and by the way, my biggest concern again, like the strength of schedule was the easiest one so far, and and they're out shooting teams basically. Now that makes me worried. I don't know. If
I don't think their intention was to win this season anyway.
Right. Now you can also argue that those 10 picks they got or 9 picks they got for Gobert and for Donovan Mitchell are other teams' picks. So they don't need to lose for those, but obviously you want to maximize your chances. So you want this pick to also be really potentially high. So I get it. But in some respects, they have so many picks that are other teams that, they can keep them unless they're swaps. But I don't know. I got to look at that and see how that breaks out. But either way, it's fascinating. It also kind of reminds me as they're winning more and maybe even Blazers too of Major League. You ever see that movie?
We talked about this before. I've seen it, but it was a long time ago.
All right. So I forgot if we talked about it. So yeah, they're supposed to lose, and all these veterans, they have the veterans. They have Conley. They got Marcus not really, but Rudy Gay. These guys have pride. Yeah, they're going to want to say, stick it to the man and win some games. So we'll see. Do I think the Kings can finally make the playoffs this year? And there's a question. It's not a super chat, but we'll talk about it real quickly as we wrap up. They're playing really well. 7-2 the last 9, and won 4 in a row. I don't know yet, but I like a lot of the players in their team.
Yeah, I mean, their 2 best players are good enough to be a playoff team, and they surrounded. I never liked the Halliburton trade, even though they got Sabonis for him, and I like Sabonis. But since then, they made some great moves with getting Monk, getting Herter. Really good moves for modern style basketball players that you need to build around their 2 best players who are good enough. And I think DeAndre is playing better this season than he did last season. And obviously he's the key as their best player. Sabonis is always going to be solid. So yeah, I think they're moving in the right direction, and they have a coach now in Mike Brown, a good coach. So there you go. I think they'll make the playoffs.
Yeah. Keegan Murray is a guy that's coming in here and doing nicely.
Yeah.
And I've always loved Davion Mitchell. He's not getting a ton of time, but he's tough. He can really move and
fights over screens unlike no other.
Yeah, so good at that. So they have a nice little team going, and they'll have a shot. They're certainly in the play-in and the lower part of the bracket in the West. So for sure, they should be in contention for that, no problem. Braun, best friend of the breakdown. Thank you so much. Hey, Coach, does Jordan Poole rank above or below Isaiah Thomas in the all-time carry list? I think we need a remake of your IT video from 5 years ago. I'm doing the video right now. I got Ronnie. We recorded already. I gotta get some other clips and put that together. I'm falling behind, unfortunately, even with this extra focus I've gotten with no sugar. So yes, I think Jordan Poole is probably, a lot of people nowadays are more egregious even than what Isaiah Thomas was doing. It's an interesting issue. And for one night, they decided to enforce it, right? And they called 3 carries on Jordan Poole, which I think had never happened before in the NBA. So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's the evolution of the game. They're allowing more and more as the years go on. So Jordan Poole is a beneficiary of that, even though his season has been up and down.
Yeah. And by the way, they caught him on 1 or 2 of those that were just bad calls. Like they just decided we're going to if you were to call. And when you look at it, it was like he never got under the ball. The ball didn't lose its momentum on the way down. But yeah, there's a lot of guys. And I was actually asking, on Twitter for more examples, but like Colin Sexton is every dribble he does is a carry almost, it's like there's some of these guys who let it really yo-yo in a way that it's like, that they're getting away with it a little bit.
That's what you call the expectation effect.
Yeah.
When you expect something, you actually see it a lot of times.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Luka is also one of those guys. Luka in the post, man. I don't know how they're letting some of those go. He's like dribbling, the ball comes up like
that's Luka. I mean, I think
he lets it sit there.
I think they want to see Luka be the face of the league. And
okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, the way he can make shots and set guys up, I wouldn't blame him. All right. Well, listen, I think we, remember, Super Chat's always the way to go if you want to get your question answered as we're wrapping this up. Maybe we have
Thank you for the Super Chats. We appreciate everybody who sent the Super Chat.
Thank you, everybody. That was a great session there with really great questions. As always, they're always great questions, and that was a really good one for sure. This episode, and again, a great talk. We had a little time off, but we didn't beat.
I feel like we're getting better and better, Coach Nick.
We are.
And you know what? I think I look back, like I was just looking through my old IG posts. I think in December it'll be a year of us doing that. Doesn't time fly?
Really?
Oh, I think so.
All right, you gotta get on that and let me know, so we'll have our a holiday party anniversary.
Okay. Yeah, it's been fun. This was a great one.
Oh, yeah, and Ja, by the way, is the other guy. Ja, I mean, these guys are carrying and really interrupting the downward path of the ball a little bit, and some of it's not bad. Some of them are getting really good, by the way, at you're looking for the hand underneath the ball, but if you can get like a pinky under there, right, you can kind of still control it in the same way, or you can maybe palm it with your big hands. So that's, there's a lot of that going on. It's just not really fair to the defense on some of these. And I wouldn't mind them cleaning it up, but at this point, the cat's out of the bag, and you would bog down these games for 2 weeks until they stop doing it. And I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think there's a guard in the league who doesn't carry by the rule of the book, right?
I'm sure we can find somebody who doesn't. Malcolm Brogdon. I don't know. Somebody who does it straight. And by the way, the whole thing all started when Jordan Poole got away with he went from the right hand to the left hand and dribbled it in the middle.
Well, that was like a double dribble.
Yeah. Discontinued dribbling violation, if you really want to be exactly.
Imagine in the pickup game, you're going, that's a discontinued pickup violation.
That's right. So you can't, it's a big no-no. You can't, but anyway, I don't know if we ultimately answer this. The answer was yes. Jordan Poole does rank above Isaiah Thomas now, and but yeah, the big no is you can't in the middle of a dribble as you're dribbling with one hand touch the other hand bounce. It cannot do that. It has to bounce in between hands. So. Well, thank you so much, Convo, for joining me. That was great. And thank you, everybody out there, for being part of this great conversation and great show in the middle of a Wednesday afternoon in November. So don't forget, we'll be back here again probably next Wednesday. I think I'm around. Although Wednesday's weird, but we'll make it happen next week. Keep your notifications on. Everybody, please just go over and watch Embiid right now, the video I dropped yesterday. Just go watch it twice and help me get those numbers back up. And don't forget, sports fans, the B-Ball Breakdown. We're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Combo?
I'm in.